computer. So I've taped down just under halfway, and I'm going to wet that top of that paper. It needs to be, well, you know the saying, shiny but no puddles. And if it's warm, you're going to need even more water. Because mine yesterday was drying very quick. So I'm just going to leave it for a little while to soak in and then put some more on. That's that. And I've got water on this tape, so I'm just going to go along with my tissue. And I've got water around the edges. So I'm just going to dry that up on the board. I can still see it shining, which is good. Oh, we need some colour. And I'm going to use a little bit of cobalt blue, a tiny touch of alizarin crimson because it's very strong, and I've got bright purple now. Really bright purple. Come on. And that was a tiny touch, so it's just a breath, a whisker. And then I want to go a bit darker. I'll show you where I am. That's not really working. That's where I am now. So I'm just going to get a bit of Payne's grey, just because I can. Gets rid of that purple and goes a bit darker. So that's the sort of colour I'm going for. Give your paper one more coat of water. And I'm just going to dry around those edges. Not the paper, but the wood. I've got no puddles. It's a shame you can't see me. I've got my head on the side at table level. So we're going to do, I've got it. We're going to do some trees. We're going to leave a gap. If I don't think about it to start off with, my gap is in the middle, and we're not supposed to do that either. So I'm going to just dot on the tape where I want my gap, which is about there. So I'm going to have trees coming down there and trees coming down there, because you're not supposed to be in the middle. I've got a round pointed, well, it's a mop. The trees are going to be, are we all there? Thumbs up if we're at that stage, ready to go. Yeah. We've still got sheen on the paper. Yeah. So, with boldness, just lines coming down. Getting smaller as you come down. I'm going to have to lift mine up because it's all going off somewhere. So, and the same this side. So start there. Whoops, sorry about the arm. I'm just lifting some of that because it's just come in as a solid block on my right. See, it should be like that more. And then some of that paint pigment has strayed into the gap. So I'm just lifting a bit of that paint off just to give it a bit of texture. So I'm damp brush and just pulling shapes into it with this round brush. That's it. And as it dries, it goes back into the bits that you've lifted. So keep doing it. Now, if you've got one, a piece of credit card or whatever, store card, use that. If not, you can use your fingernail and scratch in. It's too wet at the moment. Scratching some trunks, but it's a little bit wet, but I've got dark scratches because the paint's rushed into the, so sort of here and there. They're just going to be in the background and we're not going to do anything with them. I want to just to lift off a little bit of paint at the gap. So I'm just using my brush damp and just lifting it off and pushing it upwards. It's damp and I'm wiping it every so often just so that it's not got paint each time. And that'll be the light. And when we've got this far, we can then very carefully pull off the tape. If you've got a lot of water or paint on the tape, just give it a wipe gently before you pull it off. Otherwise, it'll end up on your hands and could end up on you. On the paper. There we are. And save that for later. Not for this picture, but I usually save a bit of tape. I was brought up to be careful. So we've got a lovely straight line if we've used tape. And I'll wait for you to catch up. So clean water again, we're going to wet the bottom half. Be very careful that we don't touch the top half, but we have a very narrow line of no paint. We can always go in a bit later and just help it. I want the whole line to be there. And we're going to do exactly the same, nice and shiny, and no puddles. I can see that we're good. Now, same mix. So I'm now using Payne's Grey. I try not to, but it never works. And the tiniest touch of alizarin crimson. If you can, pick up your paper. Just give that a mop down. Turn it round. So you've now got the bottom at the top, etc. The bottom of the lake is dark. So lay a line on, then with just a dampish brush, just pull it towards the trees. I want it fairly light when I get to this point here. Hardly any paint at all. I'm going to put another layer of dark at the bottom. You can see how the paint is actually working its way down. The page now. So that's about it. And I'm going to hold it up and let it just work its way up. Whilst I'm holding it, I'll give it a quick mop up. And I'm going to turn it back the right way. And so you should have a graduated wash where it goes from the dark up towards the white line. And we just need to let that dry for a while. We've got a stronger mix of the same color. And I'm using a rigger to start off with. I might change. Up on the right here, I'm just going to start squiggling in backwards and forwards. A more distinct tree. It can be a little bit taller than behind. It can be smaller than behind. It doesn't have to be the same. For these trees, I'm just going backwards and forwards in a zigzag. And I'm just and sometimes just putting a top on some bits. Try and leave some gaps so that the light comes through. And each tree doesn't have to have a bottom. It can join in with another tree's bottom. And they don't all have to stand upright They can be at angles. And we do the same over this side. Now that I've moved my tape, I couldn't see where my light is. It's there. Right, so I'll start over this side. So this one, these tall ones, you run out of paint. I'm sort of using where I scratched in those trunks as their trunk, really. Or as part of them. It's a smaller one. Try and make them a little bit different to each other. That one could be tall. They don't have to look spot on. They don't have to look the same. They can look a little bit, one can look sad for itself. I'll put an extra one in there and join that up there. Now we're getting smaller now. Or lower down because they're getting further away. They're very rough, really. It's just a suggestion. There we are. This one needs a little bit of help. It's a bit blobby, so I'm just dotting some colour around it. And just need to make sure that there's, at the bottom of them, there's something for them to sit on, and they're not just sitting on that water line. So I'm just very roughly putting in the same dark colour the undergrowth there, a bank for them to sit on. And the same with this side. Try not to go over the white line that we've preserved. He needs a bit coming down there. And I think that's about it for the trees. I'll just make this one a bit taller. This is one of your opportunities to fiddle around, obviously. There'll be another one later. gone even darker in some places and put another layer in of little ones on that. So it's basically it's Neat Payne's grey. And just going backwards and forwards, wiggling. So you've got 3 layers there. That'll do. We'll let it dry. There. Leaving that line, I'm pulling some down. Finger. Pull down. Move along a bit. Leave a bit of a gap. Don't forget the line. Pull down. Less far down. Finger. Pull. That needs more. So try and look at the trees, the size of the trees that you're reflecting. And pull them down. Reflections are getting smaller and also a bit lighter because you're seeing them from further away. You come to this little group here, and they're light. Still pull them down, but it's only a titchy bit. If you've got graduated reflections on that side, that's good. I've tidied up that edge a bit whilst this is still wet, so that it looks a little bit more uniform. You see these ones here that are far away, they're only little reflections and they're a lot lighter. And now we do exactly the same. It dropped a blob. Remember where the line is. It goes very quiet when you're doing this. Getting less now. Well, and they're getting a bit lighter in colour as we go further down the lake. Till we get to the where they're really small and they're lighter in colour, and just a hint. Tidy up that line. That one there needs a little bit more because that's close, and if there looks to be more gaps than there should be, just you can fill them in a bit. Don't fill them in completely, make sure that there's gaps still. So using your same mix of paint, but thick and on your rigger. Just going to do a few birds just coming across. That's it, 3 will do. Then I'm going to put a few reeds in because I'm standing on the bank this side looking. So down in the corner, I just going to do some straight lines that go right down to the edge of the paper. And then I'm just going to dot some seed head things. And I think, oh, see, just put a, they can be stones, they can be lily pads, they could be anything. It's up to you. the eye will see what it wants. And that's it, really. And just kind of do a few more reeds, different heights. Coming towards the middle. And it's over. And I've been bitten by a mosquito. Oh, we'll